My name's Reuben Bergola. I'm the Director of New Wave Accounting here on the Gold Coast. We predominantly assist small to medium businesses and provide them with end-to-end service for starting, growing and scaling their business. So from tax and compliance, but with more of a focus on business advisory and how to actually scale their business and what the figures are telling them.
Awesome. So it's not just tax.
No, definitely not just tax.
We're combining all of those different features in accounting and asset management and financial planning and pulling it all together, which is great. Cool.
That's right.
So what are you noticing about the current climate in the marketplace at the moment across all industries?
Across all industries, I think we're all in the same position at the moment, and this is what I'm going to touch base on in the webinar. So basically, in a normal environment, we'll have businesses that will come under financial distress. And in that sort of environment, it's generally a lonely place. It's usually isolated in a sense, but it's very, very different what we're in at the moment, where everyone is basically in the same situation. Some people may be worse than others, but in a sense, everyone is going to get affected by this. So it's very, very interesting space because all of the ATO, the banks, the government, everyone is realizing that this is a major event. And then that's where us, as accountants are also seeing, a major influx of communication to us, emails. We're getting bombarded with, questions and so forth. So I think at the moment there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of noise out there, which is not allowing business owners to make the right informed decisions going forward.
Yeah. Are you noticing some industries are getting busier and some businesses are getting less busy? For instance, accountants, you must be getting bombarded with inquiries and information, and then places that are affected by the lockdown are obviously being affected inversely. So what is your take on that, and what are you noticing as a person in your role?
Yeah, so basically anything that's not a necessity right now is taking a hit. Obviously, with the lockdown that's happening, restaurants, pubs, clubs, all of those sort of, pleasure-style businesses are taking a big hit. The other ones that are taking a hit are people that need to go and see clients, whether that be at their house or on premises, and providing products there. On the other hand, then you have other businesses who are thriving. So, for example, at the moment, probably insolvency businesses. They're probably loving this space at the moment because they are the ones that will do the administration and assist with the administration and liquidation and so forth of businesses at this point in time. And for some businesses, that may be the best option. Accountants, lawyers, mortgage brokers and finance brokers are also within that space where we need to help businesses at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really excited to learn more about the webinar that you're going to be holding later today, and we'll make this accessible to everyone watching this as well. So let's run through each of the points that you've noticed that most businesses wouldn't have an understanding about, or a very good comprehensive understanding about it, and by understanding it better they could really improve their chances of getting through this period and also maximizing the benefit they can get from government stimulus packages and other strategies as well. So
yeah, perfect. Maybe I'll start off with why I did this in the first place. So over the past few weeks, obviously this environment's just escalating at a rapid pace. Now, so have the questions from clients and also just any type of business owner. What I've done is basically compiled all the questions I have with our team, along with other professionals. Have come up with a solution that's easier to follow and implement right now. That's the main thing. We're going to get rid of any of the noise that we don't need at the moment and just get them to do the things that will allow them to protect and get them through this time. So I will touch base on basically firstly over the current impact of COVID-19 towards businesses. I'm not going to go into detail about health and so forth, whilst that is a major crisis and it is very important. we're here to help business owners at the moment. So anything in regards to the stimulus package, how to maximize that claim, for example, do not lodge your BAS right as soon as it hits March 31. Do not lodge your BAS at the moment. You need to go seek advice on how to maximize that claim, because I can guarantee you everyone with an accountant or advisor will be doing the same thing.
Yeah,
and that's what it's there for.
What's the reason? What's some examples of like people who went and lodged their BAS and could have missed out? Like, what's an example there that people can learn from?
Yeah, so basically, well, no one's lodged at the moment, but if they do and they pull the trigger on the 1st of April, when they can start lodging, they're probably going to think, yes, I'm going to get some money back. Now, you could possibly restructure in a way that you're making sure that it's passing evasion rules, basically, where you can maximize that claim. Now, that's the difference between, let's say, a $20,000 stimulus package compared to a $100,000 stimulus package. And that is a big, in this climate right now, cash is king. And that will, if you're a small business, that may get you through 4, 5, 6 months. So it's very, very important to not just pull the trigger. Things like the stimulus package, some of the things there you have to do before 30 June, some you can plan and execute smarter.
Yeah, sure. Great tips there. And obviously each business will have their own intricacies there, and we can't just give general advice of like, just do this, because everyone's got a different thing. So go out and seek your advice from your accountant who's hopefully up to date with all of this. Cool.
Exactly right.
So what's another thing that we can help through this period?
Sure. So the next thing we want to look at is cash flow. Cash flow is going to be vital at this point in time. I'm going to talk about how to build your cash war chest and making sure that you're maximizing what you have in the bank for the longest period of time. We're going to go through, firstly, just understanding how much cash is coming in and coming out of your business and projecting out what that may be in this type of climate. Super important. I'll give you an example right now. We met up with a really big client yesterday. They came in on Sunday because we just needed to help them out.
Yeah.
We sat down and we spent 2 to 3 hours figuring out where their cash flow was, and it turns out that if we didn't make any changes, they'd basically be going under in 2 months.
Whoa.
Now, what we did was basically get them onto funding, pause their funding for HPs and equipment finance, home loans, and so forth. And then we had to restructure their employees. Now, they had 110 employees. And after the fact, we reduced full-timers only down to, let's say, 30 and restructured 60, so they're now on casual.
Yeah, sure.
So those are the little things that people need to do immediately and doing it right now rather than waiting for 2 weeks if and when a lockdown may happen. So very, very important. And
you've already lost also with the cash flow and the amount of work that's drying up at the moment across all industries, you need to make sure that you've got the cash there and not paying employees when there's no work. And I think a lot of people feel a bit, I don't want to let them go, that's my family, it's really hard for them to make those hard decisions. But partnering up with a professional obviously is going to help you make that decision sooner rather than later. I've seen that happen various times in business as well.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the next one?
Asset protection. So basically, how can you look at what you have at the moment and keep as much as possible if, in the worst event, something were to happen to your business? So whether that be your house, cash, investments, what do you need to do right now to protect yourself? Is it some type of restructure now while you're still in a good position? Is it moving your equipment over to another entity or to another person, or selling your house to a trust? So many different scenarios, but it's important to look at that right now. You always need to think a few months ahead, if not years, in the general circumstances. And most business owners get into business not for this purpose to protect assets. They do it because they love what they're doing, and they basically leave this on the back burner. But it's time like this when it comes up and it's super important.
Yeah.
There's still time to do it.
Okay. So is there any chance of anyone, Liquidators or anything, being able to claw back money from you, even if you change, so say if we changed entities and we changed over to a trust and we did all this now, would they be able to claw that back, or is that dependent on the situation?
Correct. So it's depending on the situation as well. So that's where we need to get in some insolvency specialists, maybe some lawyers in there to make sure that everything that is done from here on in is above board, but for the ultimate benefit of the business owner.
Yep.
So it's again case by case. The number one thing you can do right now is speak to your advisors and plan ahead.
Yep.
It's not worth just sitting around and listening to other people's stories, because this is an unprecedented time. We have no idea what the climate is going to be like.
Yeah. And just on that topic of changing entities, I know I work with and consult with a lot of sole traders in terms of an entity type. So they're feeling a bit left out from the last stimulus package. I think they were hopeful because some of the messaging out there was like, sole traders, your package is coming. And then they, have to draw from their superannuation now, feeling a bit ripped off there. So if they were to change entity or create it so that they had an employee, is that okay to do now, or is it too late?
It's from the second stimulus package, it's too late at the moment. Unfortunately, it's too late for them. I'm hoping that there is another stimulus package that will come out. There is word that there will be another one that will assist sole traders and assist them to have, a greater benefit similar to what you would in a company or a trust and so forth. But at this point in time, there are rules that if you didn't have an entity with employees, I think it's after the 13th of March, then unfortunately you cannot claim the PAYG stimulus package.
Yeah. So just thinking forward right now, so people might be, damn, I've missed out on that opportunity. Let's just say there's a third stimulus package and there's more incentives coming out for employers. If someone changed to a business and remodeled their business to have an employee, maybe it's themselves or their partner or whatever, would then they qualify for that third stimulus package possibly?
Possibly.
Yep.
It's a bit hard to say at the moment,
yep.
But as this continuously changes, the goal is to keep everyone up to date as much as possible. But it's very difficult.
Yeah.
To
always thinking what's the creative edge here? What do we have to do? How can we help others make sure that we're getting the most from this? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Next step.
Banks and funding. So basically, we're going to go through how to, obtain as much cheap and unsecured funding as possible in this current climate. Now, the big thing about this is that people are going to get overwhelmed with this stage. One, because the banks, they probably can't get through the banks. We tried over the last couple of days, and it's very difficult at the moment. So if you have a broker, finance broker or a lending broker, get onto them first, and they can call your banks and negotiate for you. If you have a broker that assists you with equipment finance, they can pause the repayments. We just did it yesterday for a client of ours, paused 30, 40 repayments on their cars. They had about 40 cars.
Wow, that's good cash flow.
And it's massive cash flow, saving roughly around 20 grand a month on repayments.
Was that a lease? Was that a lease?
Yes, hire purchase.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you do something similar on a chattel mortgage?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Again, ask your broker, ask your bank, because different banks have different policies. It's not a clear cut, everyone's going to do it.
Yeah.
You may have, some lenders, for example, who did we speak to the other day? It was Prosper. Prosper, they are not deferring any repayments at the moment. That may change.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, they said, no, you still have to pay the repayments as is, which is not great for some businesses, but you just have to ask the questions. So it's being proactive right now, talking to your banks, talking to your finances, and actually figuring out where the cash flow is going to go in the next 3 to 6 months.
Great.
We will be chatting about these government incentives in terms of loans, but what we are suggesting at the moment is faster is better. If you can find an alternative, don't just wait for what the government's going to give. because they might come out and say there's a $250,000 Queensland government package, which may be coming out. We still don't know yet.
Yep.
Or the cheaper bank loans, but those are being bombarded with applications at the moment. If you can find a way to draw down on your mortgage or draw down on other areas, then that may be a better option. Again, don't do anything until you know what your cash flow is going to be like in that first stage of doing a cash flow projection.
Yep. So this is the government said they're going to do a 50-50 unsecured loans with the bank. So is that active yet, or is that start of, they're waiting for the new budget or the new quarter? Is that correct?
Well, that's what we're trying to find at the moment. We're trying to get through and actually understand when that is going to be active and then how fast they can roll it out. What I do know is that they're lowering the red tape around applications and so forth. How much they lower it by, still very vague.
Sure.
And so it's a matter of just getting on the phone and really trying to find out. So I guess once we do have information, we'll let you know straight away. Our brokers at the moment are trying to, every single hour, trying to call the banks and trying to figure out what's going on. More information,
sure.
Yeah.
And with this as a strategy, would you recommend, because it's 6 months, is it interest-free or no payments? So you're still accumulating interest over the 6 months of no payments?
Correct.
Yep.
That's right. You still accumulate all the payments. The loan will be the same at that point in time. Yep. You just have a very, I guess 6 months is a large period to improve cash flow.
Yep.
That on top of your stimulus package, on top of whatever else they're giving, hopefully more, that should relieve a lot of stress.
Yep.
It's hard to say that at this point in time, but financial stress, I guess, is the better word there.
For sure. Yeah, it's when you're coming close to zero is when you're really freaking out. So if you've got that cash sitting there, even if you're accruing a little bit of interest, which is tax deductible, you can still, if you've got that barrier there, you can feel more confident and a bit more empowered to make bolder moves to improve your business. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great tips there. Thank you.
The next one is HR management and your management team and employees. So basically, we're going to be providing out some emails and checklists and so forth that you need to go through with your employees. Obviously, the big one that we'll need to look at is laying off or reducing hours for particular staff. The biggest thing you need to understand right now is you can't just go ahead and do it. You need to plan it out. Contact your HR or employment lawyer, because there are specific rules right now that don't allow you to just lay someone off. If they're casual, yes. When they become part-time or full-time, then it gets a little bit tricky. But the whole idea is to figure out how you can do it, when you can do it, how much it's going to cost you, basically, because there will be entitlements in the background and so forth. Of course, the whole idea of this stimulus package is to keep as many employees as possible, but it's not going to be possible for every single business, and that's just the way it is. And we also have to understand that the government have put this in place, and they will look after the unfortunate people that will lose their jobs. They will look after it. Maybe a long line at Centrelink at the moment, but they will look after them. There's no way they cannot.
Yeah, sure. I had a question around standing down staff for a period of time. So you're not actually letting them go, but you're standing them down without pay, especially when we had the fear of everything's going to get shut down, we're going to be locked in our homes. So I was pre-planning for that, and I was looking at strategies to make sure my staff stayed employed. So we talked to our staff and we said, would you all be comfortable standing down, no pay? But the question, and they all said yes, and they want to make sure the company survives. So that was really, really good. We offered loans to our staff during that period if they needed cash, which they could pay back through their pay, which is interest-free for them. But also, we were wondering if it was possible during that time to claim the job seeker allowance, or if you stood down. Do you know the answer to that or not?
Well, I guess the first aspect is whether you can do that in the first place. Always just ask your employment lawyer. You may be able to do it, and you may not. Just always ask your lawyer, and that's that. Now, in terms of Sorry, was it the allowances that you were talking about? The
Yeah, so the
job
seeker allowances, yeah, so the 11.50 a week, a fortnight at the moment for
Yeah,
job
well,
seekers.
it depends if you've actually if they've actually left your business
Sure,
completely.
okay.
So just because you give them a loan, it doesn't mean they're an employee. So in that case, there's a potential there for them to say, well, I'm actually not an employee at this stage, and go to Centrelink and apply for the job seeker payment scheme at the moment. That's something that I guess you can contact Centrelink directly and just confirm that as well. But if you don't have them as an employee and you're not paying them as an employee on your payroll, you've basically have confirmation, then I would say, and again, confirm this with your employee lawyer, that would be basically them having no work.
Yep.
Which entitles them for that.
Yep. We are talking to an employment lawyer later, so I'm excited, and I'll ask that question and I'll feed that back to you for the answer. Cool. So thanks for sharing about that. That's really important points. So that's good.
The next one is handling your customers and suppliers. Now, this is very important because we have a lot of businesses at the moment that are absolutely freaking out. And of course, they're allowed to be, and it's the right time to be freaking out if there was ever a time. But you need to be smart about what suppliers you're keeping at this point in time. You can't just go through and start cutting every single cost, because some of those costs are what is generating return on investment and generating you income. So, for example, marketing. If you're marketing, you need to hone down and figure out, if you are doing marketing, what is your return on investment, and is that return on investment still viable? A lot of people will just start cutting the easiest costs they can. So, for example, if they're doing Facebook ads or Instagram ads, then they'll just cut them because they think that's the easiest way to get out of it at the moment. But you have to always think of the impact after. So that's the supplier side. What I always say, if there is a return on investment or you're getting value somewhere down the track, you need to keep those. If it's a like a system where you refill your fridge with water, you don't really need that, get rid of it, because it's not giving you a return on investment at this point in time. So you have to be careful with that. Again, with the supplier, start negotiating them, terms, start finding out whether there's certain deals you can do with them rather than paying inventory up front. Maybe you can sell it on their behalf and pay them as you sell them. So there's so many different things you can do at the moment, and be smarter with your cash. With your customers, right now is the time to pivot and innovate. You'll see many restaurants, cafes, and so forth. They are innovating like crazy, coming up with ideas on how they're going to get their service out there. So
have you got some examples around some innovations that you've seen which are really impressive?
Yeah, so basically, I'll bring it to the PT side, actually. So personal trainers who are in the gym. So they may be in a Good Life or they may be in an F45. They're creating online courses at the moment and online trainings, and as where it may not be as much as going to the gym itself, but they're earning some type of income through training people online, giving them, for example, 4-week meal plans and a challenge at home, which is a couple of $100, but they can get multiple people on there and keep people healthy from home. Innovation at its best. They're not in the gym. They don't have access face-to-face, but they're able to create a plan and a strategy that will allow them to use Facebook, allow them to use Instagram, and allow them to use platforms where they can teach courses and so forth. Now, they're doing that right now, and unfortunately, again, they're one of the businesses that will have been majorly affected. But the ones that will get through it are the ones that are going to thrive at the end.
What I really love about that, though, is even though it's a time of hardship, this is the time when people create new innovation, and coming out of this at the back end, which we will, they've got that under their belt, and maybe that will be a better thing for them moving forward. So it's really quite exciting to see what's going to be born from this chaos, I guess, what's happening right now as well.
Yeah, and the great thing is, as Australians, we support each other like crazy. And, people I've seen that their clients are just saying, yes, look, we'll help you out. If they know they're not in their own financial stress at the moment, they will help you out. Even if they don't do the exercises, they're going to help people.
Yeah.
We all have to sort of help each other.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Next one is mindset and mental health. I think this is super important for business owners and leaders. I truly believe if you can't help yourself, then there's no way you're going to be able to help the others. Like, we make the best decisions and the right decisions in a state of mind where we are in a positive state of mind, in a grounded state of mind. You can't make those decisions from a point of stress, fear, and anxiety. Very, very hard. So, just simple things that you can do: stay healthy, eat well, drink less, meditate in the morning. These are the things that we need to do. And if you haven't done it before, I encourage you to try it, just because it will get you in that state of mind where you can not only you make the right decisions, but lead and set examples for your team. Basically, it'll get you through these tough times, and these are the toughest times we'll probably ever go through in our generation. So it's more mindset and mental health is more important than ever, I believe.
Yeah, I believe you create your own energy as well. So if you're out there pushing yourself, getting your heart going, you're creating more energy for you to get through this and relieving stress at the same time. So definitely
exactly right.
Get onto those PTs that have online training now. Get a meal plan.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Exactly.
Great.
I guess, so the last two here, I've called it the last resort. And basically, this is where, some businesses will need to make that very hard decision of closing up. But we're trying to put a silver lining around this and saying that maybe this is the best time. Yeah. If you're already in financial distress before and you came in here and now it's worse, there are so many different aspects at the moment that may make it even easier for you to maybe restructure or get out of certain financial aspects at the moment, and come out of here thriving again at the other side. So that is an option, and no one should feel ashamed or embarrassed or whatever it may be, because everyone is in the same position. Yeah, everyone. Yes.
Got to do what you got to do in the end of the day. Have you got an example of that you just said, where someone might have already been struggling and now it's even worse? And have you got an example? Don't have to give any names, but a scenario, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, currently at the moment, so I do a lot of meetings, and we're doing a lot of webinars at the moment with other accountants. We're figuring out strategies for us to use and implement to as many clients at the moment. So a few accountants and insolvency practitioners out there have come up with ideas of, how, if we need to put businesses in voluntary administration. We haven't done this yet because it still needs to be structured correctly and again, case by case. However, if we needed to say a business went into voluntary administration, is there a way they can get out on the other side, both legally but effectively, to restart again? Mm. Sometimes they call that a phoenix in the accounting world, and sometimes they can be illegal. You hear stories of construction businesses basically closing down. Next thing you know, they've opened up again and driving Ferraris and so forth. Yeah. That's not what this is about. We're looking at legal ways, legal phoenixes at the moment, and that might be the best option. Sometimes once you do this cash flow, it's worse off if you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, I can get through the 6 months, but I have to borrow money off my mum, and I have to borrow money off my dad, and now you're bringing in family money only to put that at risk, when maybe you can just close up and start again.
Yeah, and it might not get better with all of that extra family money, and then in 6 months' time you go and do that anyway, but brought all of your family's money down with you.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So it's now is probably the best time to look at that option. And again, it is not a sign of weakness, not at all.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. The last slide is basically where to from here. So at the end of the session, we're going to have a Q&A there. They're going to ask me any questions, but the most important part is I'm going to give away basically all the resources they need to do this. So they're going to get a complete checklist and of what they need to do when they're calling their suppliers, calling the banks, what they need to speak about with their accountants. I'm going to give them a basic cash flow projection spreadsheet with all the calculations in there already that they can use. We're going to go through some letters and so forth that we're going to give them to send to customers and suppliers, and basically something that they can start implementing now. Now, they may not have all of the answers in there. And that's when they have, I do advise that go see your accountant, go see your lawyer, and so forth as well. But some people may not be able to do that because of the current cash situation. So we're trying to help out as many people as possible as well.
Yeah, so awesome that you could meet with us today and be able to share your knowledge and experience, and you're meeting with other accountants, you're brainstorming, collaborating. That's sort of what we want to do here as well. So just bringing everyone that we can together and supporting each other through this, and Australians sticking together, like you said. I think we're all going to come out of this, through this on the other side positively and learning something special, and hopefully, like you said, the phoenix in the ashes. So coming out of it. So really appreciate that. And
yeah, no worries.
Yeah, we'll get this out to everyone that's on board, and good luck with your webinar tonight. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Perfect. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cool.
And good luck with everything on your side too.
Thank you.